Meantime, at halftime of that game, new head football coach Matt Entz spoke and introduced his new coaching staff to the crowd there at the Save Mart Center, which includes a couple new coordinators, new offensive coordinator Josh Davis and new defensive coordinator Nick Benedetto. There are a bunch of new faces, but also a few familiar ones returning as well, like special teams coordinator John Baxter, cornerbacks coach J.D. Williams, and running backs coach Aaron Pryor. And speaking of new head coach Matt Entz, it's time for our Ultimate Insider, brought to you by FFB Bank, and it's my pleasure to welcome in the new head coach for the first time in the Bulldog Insider studio. Thanks for coming by, Coach.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me here tonight.
Hey, what was that like, getting to speak to the crowd at the Save Mart Center yesterday?
It was cool. I mean, anytime you get to be front and center with your fan base and their supporters and things, tells me how important football is. It was exciting to get our staff out there and get to introduce them. Fun to see the I don't know if it's good or bad, but John Baxter got the loudest applause. So
he always does.
I'll have to give him a bad time tomorrow when I see him in the office.
Hey, what have the first few months been like? I know it's probably been a whirlwind, right, for you? You got your feet on the ground finally here in Fresno?
Yeah, we do. My wife and I both kind of got our feet on the ground and a place to stay. And recruiting has kind of been the emphasis. And also recruiting your own roster. And when I say that, getting to know our kids, getting to know who's on the current roster, what their abilities are, who they are, peeling back some different layers and trying to just create some relationships with our current roster, but also add some pieces to it at mid-year.
Let me ask you about a couple of the new coaches as well. You're new, and obviously the coordinators are new. There's a few holdovers, some familiar faces. You mentioned Coach Baxter as well, but offensive coordinator Josh Davis, coming from South Dakota, right? Their offense the last 2 years, kind of a power game, it sounds like, but with a strong rushing attack. They've been in the, near the finals of the FCS playoffs the last couple years. They've gone deep in the playoffs. What about him was the right fit for Fresno State?
Well, I think it goes back probably 3 years ago, and I've watched the transformation of that program. And I know Josh had a heavy hand in that, especially as they continue to improve offensively. I really appreciate how we utilize different weapons, different personnel groupings, having had to defend or watch our defensive staff at NDSU defend that group, and just how multiple they were. Very intelligent young man, very understands the game, understands situational football really well. Someone that's probably going to be a head football coach at some point in his career, and I want people wired like that on our staff because they're solution-based people.
It's kind of ironic, too, for the defensive coordinator. You hired the DC from Northern Illinois, who, of course, the Bulldogs played in the Potato Bowl. Nick Benedetto is his name, and he spent the last 3 seasons at Northern Illinois. Another coach like yourself, kind of that came up through the small school ranks, seems to be kind of a theme with your coaching staff. They had an incredible defense at Northern Illinois last year. What impressed you about Nick as the person and his scheme?
Well, I had met Nick years ago. Nick has some ties to the Dakota area. Having played for some former coaches who'd been at Fresno State with Coach DeBoer, being one of them, had kind of followed his career as a young coordinator. Had an opportunity to really dive into watching his game versus Notre Dame, and then all of a sudden became intrigued, watched some other games, knew this position was going to be out there and be available. It had been in the works probably a couple weeks before the bowl game. I appreciate Nick and some of the insiders in our athletic department of keeping it quiet because the bowl game was the priority, especially for the 2024 team. We wanted to make sure that they had every opportunity and no distractions at that time. But I'm excited about what he's going to bring and just a no-nonsense, physical, tough mentality, really good fundamentals and technique. Defensive philosophy that he's going to bring to Fresno State.
All right, and quickly tell me about the decision to retain some guys like J.D. Williams, John Baxter, Aaron Pryor, and there's some other Bulldogs as well on the support staff who were on Tim Skipper's staff this past season. What went into that decision?
Well, I thought it was important. Having been here maybe for a couple, 3 days, I interviewed with everyone on the previous staff. I wanted to get an idea where the program was. I asked them probably some extremely transparent questions, like why were we 6-6? Give me more detail. Where do you think the roster is? What are the holes? Give me a 3-second tour of Fresno State football right now. I know John Baxter's history. John and I share some connections. has been tremendously successful everywhere he's been. I appreciate that side of the ball, that third of the game. I know we need to be really good at it if we want to continue to play with complementary football. JD came in, did an unbelievable job. I've met with him two, three times. Same with Aaron. Our roster spoke highly of them, and to me that had a profound impact on retaining people. When all of a sudden players come in and are advocating for coaches, I thought that was really. I appreciated that because that doesn't happen probably enough in sports, and especially it doesn't matter if it's high school sports or college sports where the student athletes are advocating for the coaches because they've impacted their lives in a positive manner. And then Delvon Hardaway, former player, had been in kind of a support role, had been in an analyst role, and got the. We offered him the full-time wide receiver spot. He'd done such a good job. You could see his handprint was on the development of those guys. And so, but I felt like it was important to have a connection to Bulldog former players, to the tradition, to the history of this place, coming in as an outsider. All I knew was what I'd seen on TV and by word of mouth. I needed some people that had boots on the ground and could help me in this transition.
Well, I know the red wave probably is behind you with regards to that decision. All right, sit tight, Coach, because we're not done with Coach Entz. Yeah, we got one more segment to go with the new head coach of the Bulldogs. We're going to ask him about the current roster and a couple of the new guys coming in. You're watching Bulldog Insider.